So my son's name is Sebastian Alexander. He was a chunky one. He came out 10 pounds. And I think what really comes to mind when I want to picture him or think of him is how I felt like everything was perfect within him. Because whenever he came out, I got to hold him and I looked through his hands, I looked through his feet, through his toes, and everything looked so perfect. It was hard for me to believe what was going on.
Welcome to Still a Part of Us, a place where moms and dads share the story of their child who was stillborn or who died in infancy. I'm Winter.
And I'm Lee. We are grateful you joined us today. Please note that this is a story of loss and has triggers.
Thanks to our lost parents who are willing to be vulnerable and share their children with us.
If you're listening to this podcast, just know that on our YouTube channel there are pictures and videos that are related to the stories that are being shared.
Subscribe and share it with a friend that might need it and tell them to subscribe. Why? Because people need to know that even though our babies are no longer with us, they're still a part of us.
Thank you, Sebastian, for coming and talking with us. It's been a pleasure to chat with you for the last half an hour before, and getting to know you and to rib and joke about.
Likewise, thank you for having me.
So thank you. Just to let everybody know, Sebastian and his son Sebastian Alexander. So if we're referring to one Sebastian and we sort of get confused, just know that it's not Sebastian Jr. though. So just to let everybody know that.
Yeah, I have a first name that's off from Alexander's side, so that's why he's not a junior.
So Sebastian is your middle name, but Sebastian is his first name.
Yes, so, there you go.
There we go. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for talking with us about your beautiful son. Just to let everybody know, we do not like each other because he's an AC Milan fan and I'm an Inter Milan fan. And
I couldn't find the end call button. We kept going over.
We have put our rivalries aside to talk wonderful to each other. So thanks.
Of course. No, yes.
Tell us about yourself. Tell us, hobbies. You've got some great hobbies. You've got, things that you've done before as a man. Tell us about it. Tell us.
Okay. I guess a big one was whenever COVID hit, I started getting more into running. So I set myself some goals. I wanted to do 4 or 5Ks that year and I accomplished it. And then I was like, okay, well, I want to push the boundary. Let me do a half marathon the next year. And I did that. And on the way there, I did a few more 5Ks and 10Ks. And then I was like, okay, well, I want to push it again. Let me do a marathon. So I guess I'm a runner somehow. Yeah. I don't know if that makes me be a runner.
Yeah. And I was going to say, if you notice above his head, all those lanyards are some of his medals. And
yes, I 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathon, and the one marathon is in there.
And that's very commendable. That is a very wonderful thing to do. What else? We talked about our soccer fandom. You played soccer yourself.
It's a big one. I play. Well, I come from a country that soccer is normal as like a day-to-day thing. I'm from Colombia. Okay. So I always watch it. I always play it. If I wasn't playing on the actual school, I was playing video games. It's something that's always there.
Yeah.
And jumping into the video game section, that's part of another hobby I have, just playing video games. Definitely FIFA is a game I play.
Yeah.
And first-person shooters, that's my second game that I play. And I try some of everything. Assassin's Creed, just starting to Diablo. I was mentioning to Lee earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's some of the hobbies I have.
Another thing that you guys love to do, you love the ocean. You guys are pretty close to the ocean, so guys like to go to the beach, go swim in the ocean. And
yes, we try to go during the summer. However, it's been a horrible summer. It's been way too hot.
Yeah.
So it has kept us away for a while. But definitely one of the things, just being close to bodies of water, either the pool or the beach, it's always nice for us to be able to do.
Well, you're a lot closer to a large body of waters than I am. And so the Great Salt Lake is the biggest body of water close to us. And it's it's a salty pond right now.
Mm.
So, well, wonderful. Sebastian, thank you so much. Let's talk about how you and your wife, Stephanie, how did you guys meet? Without you two, there is no son, Sebastian. So how did you guys meet?
Yes, sir. That's I think somewhat of a weird one per se. We met at a Mother's Day picnic that her family was hosting,
Oh,
and
okay.
my family happened to be friends of her family, so we were all invited.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I saw her. She was riding her bicycle on the grass, and I thought, "Wow, this girl is so annoying and dumb. Why is she in the grass with a bicycle?" It's like it didn't make sense. We didn't really like each other that much when we first met,
Well,
but then as
how long ago was this?
I was 12. I was
Oh,
12
okay.
years when yeah, we known each other for a while.
You've known each other for a while, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I forgot to mention that, I guess, before we
Yeah.
were chatting away.
So she's
And
riding a
then
bike. You thought she was annoying and dumb, and of
uh,
course that has changed.
yes,
But
no, most definitely. As we grew older and we kept like meeting each other at different family gatherings, we just started talking more. Eventually, like, oh, she's not that bad, and
yeah,
and then we started talking. We're like, oh, let's go watch a movie or something. And then eventually, we just here we are.
here you are. And so
Yes, sir.
you met you while you were about 12. You
Mhm.
guys grew up together, started dating serious early
High school. I
20s
want
or
to say
high school?
the last 2 years of high school.
Okay.
So
So
2005, 2000, no, 2006, 2006. She's gonna kill me for this. I don't remember quite when it started,
yeah.
but
And you
I
guys
do
have
know
been
when we got married though. So that one is a date
yeah,
I don't forget.
yeah. So you guys have been dating for what, close to 17 years? Or you
Yes.
you started dating 17 years ago. How long did you guys date and how long have you been married?
So this year will be 15 years. We got married in
Oh, okay.
2008.
2008, yeah. 15
Yes.
years.
Yes.
Man, that's a love at first sight, but you didn't know that it was love. And yeah.
I guess yeah, you can call that. That's a different twist to
Yeah.
it.
And what does she think? Did she think, "Oh man, there's that stupid kid with a soccer ball at the picnic"? Do you
I
know?
think so. I think yeah, probably she probably would say that exact same thing. I can't
Yeah.
remember if I had a soccer ball though, but yeah,
Well,
he
that's
didn't like me that
awesome.
much either.
Yeah, well, it changes. It changes. Well,
Yes, sir.
sweet. And you guys have been married almost 15 years, or you have been married for 15 years?
No, December 29th. That's our anniversary. That
Oh
would be
man.
the 15-year mark,
Well,
right? Yeah, I
congratulations.
do. Now you got me questioning math.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yes, no,
Well,
15 years would be December. Yes, sorry, I
yeah.
just had to do it real quick.
Yeah, the math, the mental gymnastics in her head to do math. So,
Yes, sir.
well, that's really awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
15 years, fabulous. So, Sebastian is your first child.
Yes.
How did you guys decide to start having children, or was it sort of like, oh, we just happened to miss a pill or miss a, or was he a happy surprise? I guess would be a good way to put it.
No, he was definitely planned. We have infertility issues.
Mm-hmm.
So we did have to go to a specialist and we had to try like several times kind of deal to be able
Yeah.
to conceive.
Okay.
So he was definitely planned.
Very much want a child from the very
Yes.
beginning.
Yes.
Um, so let's start. How you guys were doing infertility treatments?
Correct.
Um, did they test your wife Stephanie like weekly to see if the treatments were working correctly, or was it like, hey, I'm 10 days late. Let's figure out what's going
No,
on.
this was like super control. Everything
Yeah.
was like to the dot. As
Mm-hmm.
in, this is when you have to take your medicine. This is when you have to get the injection, and this is when we have to kind of like try
Oh,
to
okay.
conceive, and this is when you would show up to be pregnant. So we have to
Yeah.
test you, and this is when we do start doing the ultrasounds, and
Mm-hmm.
then we start everything was super to the
To
dot per
to the
se.
dawn. Okay, so were you guys doing IVF or IUI or Because you
No,
mentioned
so
shots. You mentioned shots, and I was like, oh,
yes, what happens is she has COPD.
Oh, okay.
So that means it's hard for her to ovulate on her own.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really weird condition. I feel like, because it's hard for me to understand the whole ins
Yeah.
and outs. I was never good in biology, but that kind of like had us go through hurdles to be able to conceive.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to a specialist. The specialist, like, they tested both of us, see, hey, how's he doing on his
Yeah.
side? How's she
Yeah.
doing? And they're like, hey, you guys look fine. We just need to be able to control
Control
your
it.
condition right now, and then you guys will be good. It was vitamins, hormones, along with the shot that would help her be able to ovulate, but it would kind of control when the
Yeah.
ovulation happens.
Okay.
Everything is like more precise,
Yeah. And
and
so
then natural.
natural and everything lined up. All the planets aligned perfectly, and you guys conceive.
Yes,
Um.
after many times of trying, because we didn't realize that she had an issue for a while.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How excited were you when you got the news that there was a viable conception? So.
I can picture in my head, I was in the car when they did the ultrasound to confirm it and everything, but I was in the shower when my wife did the pregnancy test,
Mm.
and it was hard because I was like halfway through. I had like soap, I had shampoo everywhere, and she's like, "Oh, I'm pregnant." I'm like, gee, thanks. I wish you had just waiting to, like, I got out so we could, do something together. But yeah, that's how we found out, or she first told me.
It's one of those things. Every time Winter told me that we were pregnant, I was like, "Oh my goodness, I'm so excited!" But I was just like, "I'm a terrible dad now. What am I going to do?" Well, wonderful. How was the pregnancy? Any complications? Any issues? Was it easy peasy lemon squeezy or?
I felt like it was pretty good. I was afraid that she was gonna have the morning sickness,
Mm-hmm.
that she, you know, I don't know, like, I'm really queasy when it comes down to hearing people throwing up or heaving, and I was like, oh my, she starts puking in the middle of the night, I'm gonna go join her or something. I know it sounds bad, but that was one of my nightmares, that she was
Yeah.
gonna be a morning sickness person. But no, she was really good. She didn't get crazy cravings in the middle of the night. Like, from all the nightmares that you always hear of
Yeah.
what could go, it was pretty good, I feel like, and everything was looking pretty good. At the same time, though, I try to be a little bit pessimistic. So
Mm.
I always told her, like, hey, you're not pregnant until we get to this week. That's when we need to start actually, like, telling people, or
Yeah.
that's when we need to, celebrate it, or whatnot. And we always waited just because it took so long. It
Yeah.
was a while for us to be able to conceive. And it just felt like, I don't know, I didn't want to count my chickens before they hatch, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. All the announcements and stuff like that. It's sort of you want to be a little bit more conservative about it, and so well, so
Yes.
we
Now, don't get me wrong. Once we got to that time frame that we felt like, okay, we're safe, because
oh yeah,
they tell the doctors,
everybody's
so,
like yeah,
after this week, everything's gonna be fine. You guys
everything's
are good,
perfect.
perfect. So we started doing a bunch of silly things. We have two dogs, and that was one of the first announcements that we were gonna have a baby. We put a sign and the dogs right next to them saying, "Oh, they're getting us a human." So that was the first one. And then when we did the gender reveal, we actually went to Disney World, and we did one of the theme hotels, the
Oh,
one that
okay.
has the Lion King style. My best friends came along. They were also the godparents, and my best friend, who was the godmother, she made a box because she knew the gender, and she put inside
Mm-hmm.
the balloons the color of the balloons of the what the baby was gonna be. So we kind of went on Facebook Live to share with the family and the
Oh
friends,
yeah,
what it was gonna be. But it was a lot of hype up to it, I feel like.
yeah.
Then we had baby shower, diaper party, and that's when we started just kind of like, all right,
Oh yeah.
he's coming, everything is looking real.
Everything's
Let's
looking good.
go. Countdown is happening. Start painting the room, start decorating the room, everything, the nursery for
Yeah,
him.
yeah. There's a lot of in the very beginning. There's a lot of interpretation. There's like as you said, let's get to this week, whatever week it is that you decide, and like after that, everything's perfect. And then the fun and the excitement and, like, oh, we gotta get a car seat, we gotta get a stroller, we gotta get everything perfect and everything. And it's pretty fun to be pregnant at that time, but everything's progressing great. You guys are having fun. You guys are, as you said, the diaper parties, the baby showers, the gender reveal parties. Your wife, no real morning sickness.
No,
Towards
no,
towards
not at
the
all.
end, is she getting large, or was she sort of like a small baby bump, or
I think no, she was shown as far as being pregnant.
yeah,
Um, and she was also getting tired, and that's part of
yeah,
it. Like I
oh
felt like,
yeah, yeah.
you're creating life. What else can you expect?
Yeah, I'm only taking care of myself, and sometimes I get tired. And I can't
Exactly. There you go.
can't
Yes.
imagine. I can't imagine what the mothers go through. So, but yeah, so you guys are progressing, and tell us what happens about 40 weeks in. Because wasn't your son 40 weeks?
Yes, it was
Was
actually he was due on. It's been a while since I
mm-hmm.
had to recollect, and I think I should have done this.
Oh, don't worry.
Apologies for that. I
Well,
do remember that she went to the doctor on Thursday, the week off that he was supposed to be born. So
mm-hmm,
he was due on Saturday after Thursday. So
mm-hmm,
that would be the 20th of November he was due. He was supposed to come out naturally.
yeah.
But in case he didn't come, then we had scheduled a C-section for the Wednesday coming up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we wanted to get ahead
Yeah,
of the game. We're like, hey,
yeah.
we don't want to let him be there for too long and whatnot. So Saturday night, he hadn't come. We were just doing our thing. We went to a restaurant, had our meal, whatnot, and then we went about our business. That night, we woke up on Sunday morning, and then it was just regular. I was like, "Hey, how are we good? Like, should we start packing?" She's like, "No, I don't feel anything yet." Blah blah blah. We had breakfast, and then I think she went away for a little bit. She went to the restroom, and then she came back. She's like, "Hey, something feels weird. I haven't felt him,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it hurts." I was like, "Okay, I mean, call the doctor, see what's going on, and I'll just get ready." She called, and they're like, "Yeah, just go to the emergency room, and one of us is there from the
Yeah, from the practice.
OBGYN.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the practice. Thank you. That we were going to, or that she had been going to. So we started packing the car, get everything ready, and this one's gonna be a little bit weird, but we had kind of talked about it before. What if I had to choose between her life and the baby's life? If some
Mm,
complication happened, not we didn't know anything yet,
yeah.
but it's something that you talked about before. I feel like I don't know, we talked about it,
Yeah.
and she had always said, "Well, I hope you choose him," and or you choose the baby. This was before we even were pregnant that we had talked about this, and I always told her, "No, at the end of the day, it's just the two of us. Like you're my family. I'm gonna choose you."
Yeah.
But something told me just before we get to the hospital, let me ask her again and see how she felt. And she said, "No, of course, choose the baby. If you have to." And what went through my head was me arguing with myself. It's like, okay, well, what if I don't choose the baby
Yeah.
and I choose her, and then she's gonna represent me, and then we split up or something worse? That you start making all these different ideas in your head. So I was like, okay, well, if it comes down to it, I need to just choose the baby. We give him life. I have to keep pushing with him now and
Yeah.
keep moving forward. We get to the emergency room, and they had called from the practice, so it was pretty smooth. I want to say when we got to the hospital, they took us
Yeah.
straight to the labor and delivery
Mm-hmm.
wing.
Yeah.
We get there, and at this point, I'm I'm just like, okay, this is it. He's coming, or they're gonna do a C-section right now, like something.
Yeah.
So we'll just be staying here for 2 or 3 days and just go on about our business that we knew we were gonna be doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
The first nurse comes in, and she's like, okay, let me check. She does the usual checkup for the pregnant mother.
Mm-hmm.
Then she starts looking for a heartbeat on Sebastian. And she says, "Oh, I can't find it. Let me call someone else." So she calls the nurse in charge that day.
Yeah.
Then she comes and she starts looking. She's like, "No, I can't find it. I'm not sure." And at this point, I was thinking, you know what? I think at some point they mentioned something about the placenta being in the front.
Uh-huh.
Usually, placenta is supposed to be in the back or something like that. So I was like,
So,
maybe the
yeah.
placenta. I was like, I was super ignorant when it came down to this biology stuff.
Yeah.
So I was just like, hey, she does have a front placenta. Maybe that's keeping us
Yeah.
from being able to hear the heartbeat. They're like, oh, all right, yeah, we'll check. Let us call the doctor. So the doctor came, and then she was like, okay, let me get another machine to
Yeah.
check the heartbeat. And I was like, dang, like everything does like what's going on here? They need to get a better machine if they need to
Yeah.
have a second one, And then they got the other machine in there. She checked, and then I can't remember correctly if they called the X-ray technician to confirm it
Mhm.
or if it was at that point. But I do remember the doctor telling us that there was no heartbeat, that they couldn't find the heartbeat,
Yeah.
and that was it pretty much. There was no heartbeat, that he had lost heartbeat, so he wasn't alive anymore. I know I was completely broken. My whole life shattered. Is like everything goes away, everything kind of like, oh, every idea that you had kind of like completely goes everywhere else, and I just wanted to break down. I started crying. It was during COVID, so I had the mask on, but I couldn't
Mhm.
have it on because I was, I kind of somewhat of a panic attack. I don't think it was a
Yeah.
full panic attack, but I was just bawling out, like just
Yeah.
crying. So I took it off for a second so I could catch my breath. They offered me not napkins, tissues,
Yeah.
and I kind of like dried myself a little bit. I kept like crying. I remember I was sitting to the right of where the bed was at, where my
Mhm.
wife was laying. And I remember I stood up for a second and I went to the window. So across from the bed, and the window was a full window. And I was just looking down on it and just, I don't know, hoping that somehow it was a joke. I don't know, a sick joke
Yeah. A
that they
sick
were playing
joke.
there
Yeah.
or something. But then I caught myself that now I needed to check up on my wife. And then also, something had to be done because my wife, what could be going wrong with my wife now?
Yeah.
She has a full body, a full baby inside of her, that's not moving or living. So again, I wasn't sure what was going on with the biology
Yeah.
within it. So I was like, okay, so what's next? That's when I kind of, I think I did a quick like turnaround. I was bawling. I was like, all right, FaceTime, let's just go. Doctor, what's going on? What's going to happen next?
Yeah.
And the doctor just kind of went over, is like, well, I recommend that you guys do C-section because of his size. It would be a little bit hard to say that everything will be fine if you guys do natural, just
Mhm.
because he's so big and
He
he's not going to be
is.
helping to come out. So we made the decision that C-section was the way to go. And I was like, okay, when is this going to happen? And they're like, well, she just ate, so we have to wait for you guys a little bit. You need to
Mhm.
let the food digest, and then we can try. They were shooting, I want to say it was like 4 p.m. that they were gonna shoot for, and we got there around 9:30 in the
Okay.
morning, 10 in the morning.
You had about 7 hours until you could go into operation. So,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah. And then they left us by ourselves in the room, and I just kind of like hugging my wife, and we're just crying, we were just doing our thing. And eventually we snapped and kind of like realized, okay, well, we should give her mom a heads up because she
Mhm.
wanted her mom to be there. So I said, okay, let me call her. And when I call her, I told her, hey, I'm not going to tell you anything else right now. Please don't ask. I just need you to come to the hospital. We're at this hospital. When you come out, I'll tell you everything face to face. Just because I didn't feel right. That's
Yeah.
not something that I feel like you tell on the phone to the grandmother to be, even
Yeah.
though you shouldn't be thinking of others, it's your own problem as well. I always had the mentality like, okay, how can I help, so eventually her mom got there. I remember at the parking lot, there was like a roundabout where people come through, and that's like the entrance filter kind of
Yeah.
deal. So we met there, and I told her, and she didn't believe it. She just started crying, and I was still like crying, but kind of
Yeah.
gathering strength out of nowhere
You sort
to
of
be able
had a
to.
purpose. You had a purpose
Yeah.
that you were able to
Yes.
draw strength from.
Yes. Yes. That was how it came about. And then we went upstairs to the room, and then of course, my wife started crying again when when her mom came in. Her mom started crying. It was like a lot of crying, of course. It's weird but rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eventually, we were moved to a room that it's a regular room whenever people give birth. I
Mhm.
guess that's where they put the couples, where they put the families in.
Yeah.
That's when we started letting other family members know. And I remember calling my uncle. Oof. He was like, "Oh well, that can't be right. You guys were everything was fine. Don't worry, I'll come over. Where are you at?" I was like, "No, no, no, don't worry. Like at this point, I just want you to tell the rest of the family because I don't
Yeah.
feel right calling another. I don't want to talk to anyone else." And that helped. That definitely helped. My uncle helped huge, yeah, like a lot, along with her family as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, is it seems like her mother was close to you guys, proximity wise. Is your
um.
family close? Do they live around you guys, or I'm sure you have family close and some family farther away, or
So at that point, I had lost my mom not that long ago,
okay.
2018,
Yeah.
and I'm my only child. My uncle is the only one that's here.
Okay.
Well, at that point, then the rest of my family is in Colombia.
Okay.
So I think that made it a little bit harder,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
because you don't get that closure
Yeah.
when you're far away.
Yeah. So you are a man who has been visited by grief before. So
Yes,
you.
yes, yes. That is one of the things that somehow helped me be
Mhm.
able to be somewhat prepared, although I don't think you're ever prepared
No,
to let go of your own child.
your own child. Yeah.
Of in any other losses, you're not 100% prepared.
Yeah.
My first one was my aunt. I lost her. That was in 2006, 2000. I'm sorry, 2017, 2016, and then
Yeah.
my mom was in 2018. But losing one kind of helped me prepare for the other one.
Mhm.
Although it always hits you, it's always gonna hit you
Yeah.
every time
Yeah.
that you lose someone.
Yeah.
But yeah, that the loss of my child definitely took me by surprise. It hit me
Yeah.
like none other.
It's very unnatural, and
Correct.
we always think, I will have to bury my parents because they're older than me, but you never think about burying your child. You never
Yes.
think
No. No.
about, yeah. So your uncle, such a very, it seems like a powerful impact on you that you turned to him first and you told him to, there's nothing that he could do at that moment except for to inform the rest of your family. And he was there for you.
Yes. Sorry that somehow that's when it hits me more when I have to think about other people having to be strong, and I hate
Hmm.
to put them on that place. I hate to put them on that
Yeah.
situation, and that's when it hits me the most. Of course, losing my son, that's a big one, but I think I have been able to come to terms with
Mm.
the. Not saying that I'm okay with it, but I've embraced it a little bit more per se, the loss of my
Yeah.
son, and
Yeah.
as opposed to putting other people in that situation. But yes, no, he helped. And of course, my family just started calling me. Even though he told them, "Hey, don't just give
Yeah.
him space." And I answered to a few people and told them, But then eventually, I posted on the family group chat, "Hey, just give me some time. We need some time to kind of
Yeah.
like breathe in and figure out what's
Yeah.
happening." Because at that point, we didn't know what was
Yeah.
left or right. We didn't know if it was day or night. I'm telling, like right now, I was trying to remember everything as
Yeah.
we went through the hospital, part of my memory said it was nighttime that we went. When I fully know we went right after breakfast.
Yeah.
So it's weird, your mind plays tricks on you. And then 5 p.m. came around. That's when we were scheduled.
Yeah.
We went into the delivery. It was a C-section. And that was the first time that I had actually seen what it was gonna be like. You only see the movies. There's
Oh
like, oh
yeah.
yeah, here's the baby, and you
Yeah.
don't see the ins and outs and all the machines and all the different things and all the different noises
Yeah.
that are going on.
And
I remember my go ahead.
I was going to say, and so our first daughter was born C-section as well, and it's cold. It's cold in those operating rooms, and that's another one of those things that is just like you don't know about that. Uh,
Mm-mm. No,
so
and that's something that affect us a little bit just because my wife was laying on the table and I only see kind of like her neck up because everything
mhm.
else there's a curtain.
There's a shield, yeah,
Yes. And it was so cold that my wife was shaking. I didn't know what to do. I was freaking out. I thought something went wrong and
mm,
like I was losing her too, knock on wood. So I was telling them like, hey, can we do anything? They're like, well, we can get some
some
warm
warm
towels,
blankets.
blankets, put them around her. And I was like, okay. So we did that and she was still shaking and I felt horrible because I couldn't help. I couldn't be like, oh hey tag, let me jump in the table, let me, take it. So I was just there, just holding her. Eventually they took out Sebastian. However, the whole time I was still hoping for a cry. I
Yeah,
was hoping for
some
something
sort
to
of
change, something to say, no, you know what, he was fine, but that never happened. They did ask me though if I wanted to cut the umbilical cord, and I think that's the first time that I realized I had to start making those decisions
mhm,
as if I had my child alive. Like there's nothing that says I can't go through those different stages, and my wife wanted me to no matter what. That's one of the things like, hey, make sure you cut the umbilical cord. So I was
yep,
like, yes, let me do it. They do it in a different like I don't do it right where they took him out, but they have behind me they had like a bassinet
mhm,
where they kind of pre-stage him so you have more room and you're
yeah,
not gonna drop the scissors in here or something, because
yeah,
she's wide open. So that's how I made sense of it. I remember there was two nurses right there holding him and helping me cut, and I was just bawling again. I was worse. It hit me because when you see him there, and like I mentioned, that he looks so perfect.
yeah,
I was like, why isn't he moving? Even though I knew what was going on. I knew that he didn't have a heartbeat, but still, I was still hopeful that he was gonna move.
yeah,
And I just kept crying and crying. And then I think that was one of the first days for one of the nurses, because then she started crying and I felt bad. I was like, oh man, like I didn't
oh,
do it in front of her.
yeah,
I just kept crying, kept doing my thing. But in the back of my head, I was like, oh, that sucks for her, but I can't stop it. I'm just gonna keep
yeah,
going. I'm gonna keep
yeah,
crying. Then I took him, I got to carry him and I got to put him close to my wife, but she was a little bit under, so it was hard for her to kind of like tell what's going
yeah.
on. We did get to baptize him there. Again, my wife wanted to make sure that happened.
Well, that's nice.
And I remember when the priest came, she started doing her thing, and then she tried to hug me. And when I'm on my crying mode, when I'm on my emotional mode, I don't like to be touched. I'm like, I get in my bubble. It's like, let me
Yeah.
be. I need to self-regulate. So my wife somehow snapped and was like, hey, don't touch him. So I don't know. I thought that was funny.
At least
But yeah.
your wife had the wherewithal to tell the priest, hey, he just needs it. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
because I don't like to be rude. I
Oh
don't know,
yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
comfortable when people
Yeah.
are touching me if I'm emotional. If like, don't get me wrong, I'm all about hugging people. Like my friends, I'm like, hey, come here, how are you?
Yeah.
I'm always really a warm person when it comes to saying greeting or saying goodbye. But when I'm in my own zone,
Yeah.
I wanna self-regulate, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. So you guys
Yeah.
come out of surgery. Do they bring you back to a the post surgery ward, or do they where do you guys go after surgery? Are you on labor and
We go back to
delivery?
that
Or
same room that we were at. It was
hmm
just a regular delivery room. But we still don't know if it was that they did intentionally or it was just coincidental. They put us in a room that was all the way around tucked in,
hmm
so we wouldn't really run into other people
other people?
delivering. It
Yeah.
was really thoughtful. In our heads, we feel like they did everything perfect at the
Perfect.
hospital. That they were super nice. They were great in every way, shape, or form that you can
Well,
think of in this situation, of
that's
course.
good. That's good.
Yes, yes. And I remember I was the first one in the room with Sebastian. And I was just staring at him, still just hoping for him to kick, just hoping for him
Yeah.
to like move or something.
Yeah.
But of course, it didn't happen. Then my wife came in, like they rolled her bed in, and we were there holding him. I'm sorry, right now it's like a time lapse that it just
Yeah.
seems a lot happened, but I can't recollect every single
Yeah.
second.
It's amazing when the brain is trying to protect yourself, how much you can remember or how foggy and hazy everything is. It's your brain trying to protect yourself. So
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
worry.
They took him back for a little bit to clean him out,
Hmm.
and then they brought him back when he was wrapped up in a blanket that we had brought. The blanket is really nice. It was like silk style, and it
Oh,
had his
nice.
name, the Sebastian Alexander, all around it.
Mm.
So
There's a
that was nice. He didn't fit on the clothes that we had brought. We had brought a newborn
uh-huh.
onesie.
He's a
He was
big
too
boy
big.
too. He was
Yeah,
he
he
was
was too
10
big. We didn't
pounds.
know
So
that he was that
yeah.
big. Yes, yes. So he didn't fit, unfortunately, but he got to put the hat on, and I thought that was cute.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
They offered to take pictures. The hospital asked,
Hmm.
"Hey, do you guys want us to bring the photographer? They'll take pictures." At first, I was all about saying no
Yeah.
because I felt like it was a moment I didn't want to remember. I didn't want to have that negative moment in my
Yeah.
life moving forward, in our lives moving forward. But then we started talking. I was like, "Well, this is all we have. We have to live with it. Like, let's roll with it."
Yeah.
So we went with it. And we have some really nice pictures of him. I
Yeah.
think Steph has shared a few with you guys. I hope
Yeah.
you had got a chance to see them.
I have been able to look at him.
Okay, good,
It's
good, good, glad.
and let me tell you this, like a lot of people, it is one of those things where you think about documenting this terrible, sad, hurtful time of your life, and people are like, "Oh, I don't, why would anybody want photographs of this?" And like you said, this is all that we have. Like this is the only time we will have with Sebastian. And of course you
Yes.
want to remember this.
Is it
Uh
okay if I show a picture here?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, 'cause that's what I was just doing. Like when you look at him, and he was all chunky,
Yeah.
and I don't know, he came with a full set of hair. Again, to me, he seems so perfect in
Yeah.
every way.
He was just a
So
little boy, a
yes,
freshly born little boy.
yes, sir. Another awkward and funny moment, I guess. At some point, my wife was like, "Hey, you need to go eat, go get something." And I was like, "Okay, I'll go." But that was because her mom had stayed there the whole time. So I was
Mhm.
like, "Okay, I'll go eat, and then we can take turns." But
Yeah.
um, I went down to the cafeteria, and I grabbed my stuff. I went to pay for it, and then the lady was like, "Oh, did the baby come yet? Because you have a
Oh,
sticker." I completely forgot that
yeah.
you give you a sticker. It says you're in the labor and delivery, wing. And right away
Yeah.
she asked, and then I couldn't talk. I started just crying. I just started just bawling. And of course, guess what she wanted to do? She wanted to come hug me. And at that point, I was like, no, 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 just give me some time. I paid, and then I went
Yeah.
back and just ate my stuff. But I felt bad because
Yeah.
like she's trying to be nice. I'm like, no, no, get out of my face, like without her knowing. But
Yeah.
that was one
Yeah.
of the things. Like that hospital, I do have to say props to it. Everyone was there. It was really nice. I can't. I don't know. I kind of want to have some negative thoughts of it, but I can't. I can't. I feel
No.
like they were all really nice.
Yeah.
Everyone was good. Um,
Such such mercy that people were so good,
Yes.
in this terrible situation, in this sad situation, at least there was some sort of light in the darkness for you.
Yes.
Good
Yes. Yes. For
good
sure.
people, yeah.
Yes. No, and the nurses, they were, I want to say they were all nice. They were always like checking up, taking care of my wife, making sure she was okay. We were there for a night on that same room.
Mhm.
And one of those memories that sticks with me is the clock. The clock is a weird clock that, you know how usually the clocks in schools they have the seconds and they just go. You see them be
Yeah.
able to go.
Yeah.
This one, it switch every 5 seconds. So instead of just going constantly, it would stop and then boom, jump five, and then boom,
Uh-oh.
jump five. So it was weird because I was like, man, am I seeing things? Like, is
Yeah.
time just jumping 5 seconds ahead every time that I look at the clock? But then I realized it was the clock that was wrong because, well, not wrong, but the mechanism that
The
it was designed with.
mechanisms. Yeah, that's
Yeah, yeah.
crazy.
So that's one of the things of that room.
Yeah.
I don't think I slept that much. It was like a in and out. I was in the couch.
Mhm.
After that day, they moved us upstairs for my wife to recover.
Were you able to keep Sebastian in the room with you guys?
They did offer, but I felt like I would just keep staring at him, hoping for
Yeah.
him to move. And I think my wife had the same
Mhm.
feeling. So we said no. We said our goodbyes after. I think once it was closer for us to for Steph to be able to rest.
Yeah.
But I felt like we squeezed every second we could to hold him, to have him, to see him.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, there's never enough time, but there has to be a time to say goodbye.
Hmm.
It's one of those things where
Yes.
he will always be with you. His face is always going to be imprinted on in your mind. But when's a good time to say goodbye? There is no good time to say goodbye. So,
Correct. Yes,
as
sir.
you said, you squeezed all the seconds you could with him, and
Yes.
it's hard. It's hard to say goodbye to your child.
Yeah.
So,
Especially because we were so far out. It
yeah,
was supposedly past this safe timeline.
yeah,
That same week that they say, "Oh, after this, you're good to go. You're golden." And this is part of the like ignorance that I didn't know stillbirth was a thing.
hmm,
I didn't realize that at any moment anything could happen, and then I don't know, like life is short, but you don't think it could be this short
yeah,
for a baby that everyone loved. Everyone had good intentions for him.
yeah. It was so
Yeah.
anticipated by you and your wife. You know,
Yes.
you guys finished your stay in the hospital. How was the recovery? Did you guys go home? Did you guys what was that like?
That's another rough one
Yeah.
because right before it, I wanted to take a shower. I didn't feel right showering in the hospital. I don't know why. They just didn't
Hmm.
feel right. I was like, you know what? I can just wait for my mother-in-law to get here and I can just go shower. We're like 15 minutes away, if that, from the hospital. 5 minutes
Hmm.
stops, I want to say.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll just go home and shower and kind of put some things away. But before that, my mother-in-law had been staying at our house, so she didn't have to drive so far.
Yeah.
And she had done a cleanup of everything that was baby related. She took everything that was baby related and put it in the nursery because we asked her, just put everything in the nursery. That way we don't run into things and it makes it worse. We felt
Yeah.
like at that point. But when I went to shower, I didn't think of the car seat because we
Mm.
were pre-staged. I
Yeah.
remember being on the driveway, taking the seatbelt off from the car seat from the base.
Yeah.
And I just started bawling. I just started crying, just going at it because I was like, this is it. This is really not happening. We're not gonna bring our son
Yeah.
home. And when I went to put into the nursery, and again, we this happened November 21st. So Thanksgiving was around the corner. We
Oh,
had one
yeah.
seat for him for Thanksgiving right on top of his crib. So we didn't have to like go around because we weren't sure when it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
And of course, I see the my first Thanksgiving thing, that turkey hat. I started crying again. It was like everything in the house. It was some kind of triggering.
Yeah.
I went to the laundry room. I still wanted to double check to make sure that there was nothing, so my wife wouldn't get more triggered because you always want to
Yeah.
be protecting her.
Yeah.
And I found small things. My mother-in-law did an amazing job putting almost everything away, but there were some things that she didn't know about that we had set up, like
Yeah.
the laundry detergent for the baby. We have baby laundry detergent,
Yeah.
and he was right there. I was like, oh, let me put this away. I started bawling. Um, there was something else in the plasticware that we have that was baby related. She
Yeah.
didn't know that it was baby related. It's just us gonna be using it for that, so that one triggered me. But anyways, I put things away. I went to shower and then I went back to the hospital. Then when it was time for us to leave, I went and got the car around, and
Hmm.
I took my wife, and it was rough. It was rough coming, but I do have to say we have great friends. Sorry.
Don't worry.
See, that's the part that gets me when I think about the other people. Uh,
Good friends. Good family, good
yes,
friends.
yes, and we came home to meals. People had ordered us groceries. They had sent us flowers. They had sent us gift cards for DoorDash, for Uber Eats. They try to send all the things that you don't realize like you're gonna
Yeah.
need because you don't want to
Yeah.
do anything. You don't want to cook.
No.
You don't want to do anything, but just lay down or sit down and do nothing.
Yeah.
And it, it's crazy how friendships come along. Oh, sorry. I had switched jobs that same year
Hmm.
in 2021 at the beginning of February. But I stay in touch with the people that I work with. I still stay in touch. I'm inside their Facebook chat.
Yeah.
When they have work meetings or reunions, I still show up. They still tell me, "Hey, come over. We're doing this. We're going over here." And they send us the flowers that were for his birth month. Those
Oh.
flowers were great. It was like a nice pick me up, and we would come out, even though everything seemed so dark. It was
Hmm.
nice to look at them. You know, um, neighbors in our neighborhood they found out, and they also sent us a buck, like a basket with the gift
Yeah.
card, and I just thought it was so nice and amazing.
Yeah.
It's the little things that definitely helped us up,
Yeah.
help you pick up. But I would every time I would see something, I would start crying because like they're nice, they're super nice,
Yeah.
and it fills me up, you know.
The good people in our lives. Good people, the community that is built around us. It's
Yes.
amazing. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm gonna be honest. At the beginning, I wanted to sell everything. I wanted to sell the house. I wanted to sell all the cars. And I just wanted to go out and travel. I wanted to travel around the country. I was like, hey, let's just take a break from life. I feel like that would
Yeah.
be the best thing that we could do, take a break from life. But once we cool down, I started
Hmm.
realizing that that's not really something that we would like, and it wouldn't be fair for Sebastian,
Yeah.
for our son, for us to have a gap because of him, have a lapse of time that we didn't do much because of him. So that's part of what helped us kind of like reroute ourselves and
Hmm.
push forward, to
Yeah.
achieve a lot more.
Not saying that traveling and taking time for yourself is bad, but the complete escapism that you sort of said that, like, oh, just sell everything and just sort of try to run away.
Mhm.
That's not healthy. That's You're going to have to come back and face what has happened.
Yes.
And how you said that's not what our son would want us to do. That is so true. You are parents, you are a father. Sebastian is your son, and he will always be with you. And it's different. It's different how you are than how a conventional father son relationship is. But he has aspirations for you as his parents as well. And you can't
Yes,
run
sir.
away from those. You can't run away from that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
So how has the healing been this last year and a half?
It's mixed. It's a roller coaster
Hmm.
that you don't know when the drops come. The drops have slowed down though.
Yeah.
They don't come as often as they used to at the beginning. Because at the
Hmm.
beginning, almost everything
Yeah.
triggered us.
Yeah.
And it's something as silly as saying my name, Sebastian. Whenever we were at the funeral home, another one where my uncle showed up, he was like, "No, no, I'm going with you. I got
Hmm.
you." He came over and he didn't really say that much because he was just there to be with us, to support,
Yeah.
and that was really nice for sure. Her uncle as well, and her aunt, the wife of the uncle, they were
Hmm.
always there for us. They were
Yeah.
really nice. They were really close. They helped us a lot. But whenever I had to say like what was, they asked, hey, what do you want us to put on the death certificate, right? Is that
Yeah.
what it's called?
Yeah. The death
Okay, so we
certificate.
said Sebastian, Alexander, and then our last name. And then they asked, okay, what's the father's name? And then when I had to say my middle name, it killed me. I was like, oh, it's the same, Why did I do this to
Yeah.
myself? I didn't, like, you don't think of it. You don't think of
Yeah.
it that if you give one of your names to your sons, whenever you have to repeat it, it might trigger something.
Yeah.
But it has gotten better. Now talking about him it's nice. I liked sharing. It's one of those things, and I don't know if you've seen Modern Family. One of the actors in that show, they have an issue talking about death, but her issue is that she starts smiling whenever she says, "Oh, somebody died." She just smiles, and every time that we were talking about Sebastian, we feel like we were doing that because we didn't want to be sad when we told people, but we
Yeah.
just wanted to have like a smile going on. So that
Yeah.
that started happening, but then it became more natural. Like, no, yeah, we had a son, but we unfortunately we lost him,
Yeah.
and yeah, so it
It's,
it changes. It makes it not easier to think that you don't have your son here, but it's easier to share the story. I think
yeah.
that's the best way that I can phrase it right now.
Yeah. As you were saying, the pains of grief in the beginning, they're just rapid. They're one right after another. And eventually there's a little bit of a gap that forms. And, even nowadays, we're 5 years out and I still get a pang of sorrow every once in a while, but it's not as often. And eventually, I'm hoping eventually I don't ever want those pains to go away, but I hope they're filled more with more happy memories than they are of sad memories. So, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Yeah.
Sebastian, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about your son? About little Sebastian?
I can't think of anything else. Just right now, I feel like almost every day we ask each other, my wife and I, like, do you think Sebastian will be doing this? Do you think he will be doing that? Or do you think he'll be
Yeah.
sitting over here? Like that, those memories helps us a lot.
Yeah.
And talking about him and thinking about him definitely help us. At the moment when it first happened, we didn't think anything of it
Yeah.
besides that we just didn't know what to do. We were just numb. I think
Yeah.
that's the best way to describe it. But yeah.
It's the truth. In the beginning, you're just numb, and then you start to live life with them. So,
Mhm.
well, thank you so much, Sebastian. It has
Thank
been
you, Lee, for
great.
having us or having me. I'm like talking like Sebastian was like right
Yeah.
here.
Well, we're glad to have both you guys on this.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Appreciate it.